Okay, so in my enthusiasm of fiddling my feet under the table, something unexpected and unprecedented happened in me nudging one of my many cables and thereby causing a power cut, shutting down the computer. Thankfully, the open broadcast software that I'm using seems to be good enough and actually saved down the file, and it wasn't all lost just because power was suddenly cut. How brilliant. I'm sure this has happened to other people before. I think what we have time to try and get to is debug what we were just looking and make sure that the color change happens before I need to get rolling here. So where were we? We've assigned the button to actually try and update the character, or at least increment the character thing, and it was telling us that the index wasn't quite an acceptable one. So why would that be? It's trying to read an index of allowed characters in the menu, as we remember. Let's see if that menu was saved. Did we actually save the way that the player, which is in the save controller, has a menu writer? Aha, but we don't have the four scriptable objects. Let's make sure we bring those back from the scriptable objects place. Lovely. Great. Let's recreate that issue by pressing that button. Game over. Nope. What it didn't save was the change to the character button. Let's do that again. So instead of starting the level, it should change character. Now we should be able to recreate the error message we were getting. There we go. So we get argument out of range exception. The index was out of range. It must be a non-negative and less than the size of the collection. This was being, if we look at the console for debugging, we can see that here in menu controller 146, it's trying to do it somewhere here. Now, parameter name index. Index is the unlock characters index of active character. We know that the active character should be whatever is in the active save, but maybe it's null to begin with, though we did say. So if there is no file, it's not going to come up as anything. Then we say active character is 0. Does that do? Mm-hmm. Let's debug this from new controller change character. We just pass in 1 instead. So take it from 0 to 1. Still giving grief. So the collection of unlocked characters, might that be mistaken? So we were saying that unlocked characters are a list. Okay. It must be the case that it is also. Unlocked characters doesn't get overwritten anywhere, right? It does when we're loading. Let's bracket this one out, because that might be creating a the save at the moment doesn't really handle that yet. So now we should, let's assume it loaded the game. Great, we're getting another error, much better. So what it was doing was that, yes, in the loading of the scene, it was first saying that the unlocked characters is a list of 0, 1, 2, 3. But then when it does, after that, in 0.3 seconds, try to load the game, it then went to the active save and brought the unlocked characters property into override what this class has. But that was actually never set in the save file yet. So that's why I was saying, hey, you're trying to pass in this index, but it's impossible. So now what I did here was just fixed manner pass in the index, just pass in number 1. Let's return that back to the index and see what that says. Great. Getting 2 errors, which aren't the same ones. So an instance of game character controller is needed in the scene, but there is none. And it's saying game character controller. However, we changed it from game character controller to player character controller, right? So where is this being called? In the menu controller. So here it's saying, here I did not change it. Always trust your error message reporting, saves you a lot of time. Not all of this needs to be kept in your head. Yeah, oh yeah, boy. Great. So now, look at that! The color's changing. How brilliant is that? I'm loving it. Still giving an error saying change character object reference not set to an instance of an object in menu controller 145. So let's control that. So it's saying save controller instance save game. So for some reason I haven't yet figured out it's not happening with this. It's probably because I'm a moron. I'm not capitalizing the instance. So it's not actually picking up what it's meant to. Let's try this one more time. Damn, 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 damn. No more errors. And it's changing the color. And we have a brilliant character changing system just about ready. I wonder if we could cheekily do the other side too. This is so fun when things start to click together. So let me save our progress so far. I'm just using Gitkraken. I suppose Visual Studio Code would be fine for updating our Git, but let me just say this is character change work in progress. Committing that and pushing it in case I kick the electrical socket again. I've pushed it. Okay, so let's see if we can blaze through to the play side and make sure that it does the same kind of trick here in the save controller, which we have somewhere. Here we go, and we add the player character controller here as well. Okay, so now we need to maintain this same ordering, so we should make this into a prefab, shouldn't we? Once we have done our thing. A prefab is nice because you can have it change in multiple scenes at once. It's kind of existing at a higher plane of existence, at a higher level of abstraction from the scene. We say character 3, then we say character 4, great. And of course here the player is somewhere else. The play container, the play level, rider. But let's just check that rider has sprite render raw. Does not. Does not. The sprite render is here. And the sprite render is not white to begin with. How vile, to be honest. It's disgusting. Well, that means that actually we want the sprite here. Now it loads the level. It's got a pink one. Go back to the menu, change the color, play. Okay, not what we want yet. However, is it saving properly? We're in the menu. Oh, we want to save it. This should be saved. Am I doing the saving properly? In the menu controller. We are saying that the active save active character does update. Okay. Ah, but what we're not doing is when we're not actually updating the character when we load the game as well. So what I mean is that once we load the game, when a player shuts down the app, opens it up again, has played it before, has changed the character, if they do manage to load it, make sure the relevant active player has been loaded. We take the updated character, we just make sure it updates to the ID. Okay, so I think probably the saving and loading of the actual data worked fine. We were just not rendering the change. Great. Okay, so now it's pink. If I change it to yellow and reload, hey presto, we're at yellow. So for a microsecond, for those 0.3, before it loads, it's gonna be purple. That's okay for now. We're making a game, an engine of perfection. So here we go. What is still missing here in the actual game controller phase? We are not, nothing is calling the thing to change the character, right? That's the same issue as we had before. So what we actually want to do is call the player character and controller instance update character with the active character once the game level has loaded. Clearly. So that's in the game controller right here. And where we're loading the game, at the start here, and we're saying the instance should, okay, which is the load game. The load game should bring a save, right? So the save, active save, should be that. Let's add to our interminable list of broadly declared variables. And then here we say that the active save is that, and we know that the active character is whatever our save file says that our active character should be. However, that's okay. We could handle loading a bit differently in the future, I realize. Let's try this now. So we've saved that scene. Start from the menu. We have our one save file. Streaming, and we go here. And it's yellow. Oh my god. Oh yes. When you set out to accomplish something, use your 3 brain cells and actually make it reasonably functional. Get marginally better as a programmer as a result. Look, now we have basically the whole possible population of the universe could be turned into characters, cycling through this endless, it's not endless, 100 levels, set of rings. How beautiful is that? Exceedingly beautiful. I am very pleased, actually, given the time constraints. And there we go, it even reloads the level. Aha, but here in loading the level, it goes back to purple. So one more thing to do before I call it a day, which is to mimic what we're doing. Hold on a second. It's loading the scene. When it loads the scene, does it not? Does it not? Reset player. Why would it do that? How does the load scene work? Unity load scene. Does it not call start? documentation here. Why? If it's calling it a start, so what I'm umming and ahhing about is that it's loading the game here. Maybe it's doing something silly in the save phase that resets that. Okay, that's probably what's happening. So when it ended, when I died in that level, it then rewrote the save game, and in rewriting the save game, it didn't manage to keep the active character in play. Okay, so save game. But wait. So it's saying active character is whatever's there. So I guess what I must be doing when I was loading it was using it when I wanted to. So this is great. It's using the active save active character. However, it's not actually populating the stuff. Well, is it? So we would say active character is the active save active character. Great, and then we can simplify there. Let's try it one more time. We start from the menu, and we're going to play a game. We're going to get to the new scene with a yellow character. We're going to die. We're going to be respawned as a yellow character. Indeed we are, because we fixed a bug. And that's going to be nice. That's all I needed to accomplish right now. So, do we need to recap? We've been working on a save load system. We have gotten the saving and loading into a binary file up and running. We hooked up this button on the menu scene to actually change the character, and it does it in a bit of a roundabout way, going through a list of options that will eventually be, something that depends on each player and what they've bought and what they haven't unlocked. And it will pick the next available one, or then it will cycle through back to the beginning. And we can grow this as much as we like from here. We can start extending our character scriptable objects and the properties that go into them and the amount of characters very easily. And just needing to maintain the amount that's the same. I guess what we could then still do is take the save controller and turn it into a prefab by dragging it into prefabs. So at least if we manage the list of player character scriptable objects in the prefab, then every instance of that prefab in both scenes, if they are indeed instances of the prefab, will update. So we don't have to remember to keep our ever-growing set of characters, let's imagine, same in both ways. There. Good. Good dinkum. Let us then save. Game character change. All change. Just in time to dash off as well. Marvelous. Marvelous indeed. Now I've pushed, I've committed, and now I'm going to wish everybody a good night. Catch you next time.